Do you believe God can use anyone? Well, get ready for Samuel's story. A kid who dared to dream big things God has done in history. Our story begins with a desperate prayer. Hannah, a woman who really wanted to have a baby, prayed and promised God she would give their future son to serve him in the temple if he answered her prayer. And guess what? Her prayer was answered. She had a baby boy and named him Samuel, which means asked or prayed for. And she kept her promise, giving Samuel to God when he was just a little baby. He grew up at Shiloh in the temple under the care of the priest Eli. It was a time when God's people were not doing what they should. They didn't listen to God's voice. Instead, they followed their own ideas. So God chose Samuel to be the one to lead them back to him. One night when Samuel was serving the Lord, something amazing happened. He heard a voice calling his name. At first he thought it was Eli, but it wasn't. The voice called again, "Samuel, come here." And Samuel got up, went to Eli and said, "Here I am, my master. You called me." But Eli told him he didn't call Samuel. So Samuel went back to bed. The voice called out again, "Samuel, come here, Samuel." And he went to Eli again, asking if he had called him. But Eli said, "I didn't call you, child. Go back to bed." Now, confused and a bit scared, Samuel went back to bed. But you won't believe what happened next. The voice called Samuel again for the third time, and it was so clear this time. Samuel got up and went to Eli, saying, "Here I am. You called me." Then Eli realized that God was calling Samuel. He told Samuel to wait right there while he went to talk to God. When Eli came back, he told Samuel that God had a very important message for him and that from that day on, their lives would change forever. God was going to tell Samuel many secrets about the future. This made Samuel feel a bit nervous because being a young kid, he realized that God was choosing him for something very important. But even though he was scared, Samuel was brave enough to say, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." These words show us that Samuel understood how important it was to listen to God and obey him. Let's fast forward a bit in Samuel's life. As he grew older, God revealed many secrets to him about the future, both good and bad. He warned Israel's leaders about the dangers ahead, hoping they would change their ways and turn back to God. Samuel judged the people, helping them choose what was right and dealing fairly with everyone. He became a kind of judge, guiding Israel for many years, especially during a time when there was no king. But as the years went on, things didn't really improve. Many people still didn't follow God's laws. Samuel wasn't happy about this, but he continued to pray and do his best. He knew that God had given him an important job. You know how sometimes we wish we could see God directly instead of reading about him in the Bible? Well, Samuel had a special experience like that. God told him about two important things that would happen soon. First, God would take away Eli's family line as priests because they hadn't been good and hadn't taught other people to follow God. Second, God would raise up a new family to be his priests. He told Samuel he would be the one to start this new line of priests. Samuel was very happy to hear this. Afterward, God showed Samuel what was going to happen to Eli's sons. One of them, Hophni, would die in battle. The other, Phinehas, would die in a single moment, falling down as if struck by a spear. In a short time, these things actually happened. Both Eli's sons died in a battle against the Philistines. The people were sad about this, but Samuel continued to do his work, telling them to turn away from evil and follow God. Many people started to listen to him and turned away from their bad ways. During this time, Samuel's own family grew. He had two sons, Joel and Abijah. Some people suggested that they should become priests instead of Eli's family, but Samuel didn't like this idea. He didn't want people to think he was trying to take Eli's place. He knew God had already chosen Eli's family to be priests a long time ago. Instead, he taught his sons to fear God and follow his laws. Sadly, his sons didn't always do what was right. One time they even demanded that people give them gifts, just like Eli's sons had done before. When Samuel got to know about it, he was very upset. He gathered all the people and told them that God was disappointed because his sons weren't following his laws. But the people kept insisting that they also wanted gifts from Samuel's sons. Samuel, along with his sons Joel and Abijah, listened to the people and took gifts from them. Now, you might be thinking that Samuel made a mistake here. But remember, he wanted to be a good leader and help the people. He didn't want them to go too far away from God. But even after Samuel told his sons not to be like Eli's sons, sadly, they still acted like their father's sons. You see, being a good leader isn't easy. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions and correct other people, even if those people are your own family members. Samuel knew this, and that's why he told his sons, "You have not obeyed my teaching. You have not followed the law, the way your father Eli taught you. And now the Lord says that he will punish you forever." Now, let's think about the main lesson we learned from Samuel's story. Do you see how important it is to listen to God's voice? He wants to talk to us, guide us, and help us do what's right. Samuel teaches us that God often chooses ordinary people like you and me to do his work. Even when Samuel was just a little kid, God spoke to him and used him for great things. God doesn't need someone special. All he needs is someone who will listen and obey him. Samuel's story reminds us that God still speaks to people today. He may not speak to us in the same way he did to Samuel, but he wants us to spend time with him and listen to his voice. In the Bible, it tells us that Jesus said, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me." Samuel was like a good shepherd, watching over his people and leading them to God. He wanted them to hear God's voice and do what was right. Another important thing Samuel teaches us is that when God gives us a task, he will also help us do it. When Samuel was scared and didn't know what to do, he prayed and asked God for help. God answered him and gave him strength and wisdom. In the Bible, it says, "Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Just like Samuel, we can be brave when we're afraid. And when we don't know what to do, we can ask God for help. As Samuel grew older, he continued to listen to God and obey him. He shared God's messages with the people of Israel, even when they didn't always want to hear them. He taught them to turn away from their bad ways and follow God. Even though not everyone listened to Samuel, he never gave up. He kept praying for God's people and trusting in God's plan. Samuel's story inspires us to keep going when things are hard and to trust that God is in control, even when we don't see the results of our efforts. One of the most important things Samuel taught us is that when God calls us, he has a special plan for our lives. He wants to use us to do his work and make a difference in the world around us. We may not always know what God's plan is, but if we listen to him and obey him, he will guide us every step of the way. So remember, just like Samuel, when God calls us, we should say yes and be ready to follow him no matter where he leads us. If you want to dive deeper into the stories of amazing people from the Bible, stay tuned for more videos. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.